And welcome to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the annual end of session mayhem and confusion. My guest is Bob Huff, the Senate Republican leader. Thanks very much for being with us.
Great to be here, Steve.
So, are you having a good time?
It's always a good time, end of session. You never know exactly what's coming at you. The uncertainty kind of keeps a little, almost like your birthday. You never know what you're going to get.
A lot of people are actually, are appalled at the process. Because bills are gutted and amended at the last minute, and so you don't know really what's in them. You have to vote on bills with maybe a minute or 30 seconds of debate, and that's it. And so there's a lot of confusion.
Well, there's a lot of bills that you think are dead, and then you're right. They'll get gutted out of one and amended into another. You have very little time to consider it, but that's by design. The legislature, we represent people across the state. We have different issues, so you might have an issue that's important to the majority party, the Democrat leadership. They can't get it through their committee or whatever, so if they jam it at the last minute when we're worn down, they're more likely to get it done when people don't get to look at it, when the press doesn't get to look at it, frankly, right. And pull it apart.
And the irony, I guess, is that at the last few weeks of the session, that's when major bills, come to fruition and get passed out. Right. On major subjects.
To put this in perspective, we started with 2,200 bills or so this year. We're down to about 700. When we're taping this, we're several weeks before the end of session, and they're even timing it so that we're dealing with most of those bills the very last week. And so there's a lot of things just churning up in the air, and bad things can happen in a hurry.
So let's talk about a couple of the major bills that we're looking at. I guess one is possible reform to the California Environmental Quality Act, which Republicans have been pushing for a long time.
Right, and we call that CEQA. It was actually signed into law by then Governor Reagan. It was intended to apply to public projects, and then court decisions shaped that into applying to all projects. And over the years, it's become a blunt instrument to stop projects or to slow them down. Certainly, I think the environmental quality has been enhanced because of this, but now it's morphed into a way just to kill jobs. And so there's been actually a bipartisan, just not enough of it.
But Democrats have come around.
Yeah, the governor believes that we need to reform this, but he can't get a bill to his desk. He only sign or reject what comes there. So, there's an opportunity to try to do something significant. I'm just afraid we're going to get CEQA reform light.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Senate President Pro Tem is pushing this.
He's pushing something that is a little bit different. His will take care of his pet project. We've seen exemptions for large ballparks and things like that, and his is no exception to that. But his would also sort of shape development around transit-oriented development, or these, make it easier for those kind of projects.
Mm-hmm. Another issue that is important, and everybody's been watching, actually been watching this for a couple of years, is the water bond. $11 billion originally, and it's been placed on the ballot and taken off because it's so expensive. I guess the feeling is people aren't going to vote for it.
Yeah, and it's sad because this was a torturous process to get there. We've had over $15 billion worth of bonds in the last, call it 15 years or so, with zero storage in it. So one of the chief goals of the last water bond was to have some storage. And yet we saw an effort just in the last few days to take the $3 billion of storage that is in this $11 billion water bond and shave that down to $1 billion. As one of my colleagues called it, well, that makes it a waterless water bond, which sort of defeats the purpose.
And Republicans, of course, have been pushing for more storage for eons, it seems like.
We run over 50% of our rainwater out to the ocean, so we have to capture it when it's coming. When we can't capture it and put it into storage, then we'll have it available when we need it.
All right. Well, our time for this segment is up, but a fascinating subject of the last few days, I should say, of the legislative session. Senator Huff, best of luck with that, and thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Steve.
And thanks to our viewers for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt. We'll see you next time.